2, 1. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Progress Always. Mike Anders here with my boy Zack Stewart, retired firefighter, NCAA wide receiver, and now the most recently founder of Recovery Room Arizona. Appreciate you taking some time out of your Saturday, brother.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's nice to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. You're quite the accomplished Jiu Jitsu athlete, and you've had my son and I have had the honor of taking a couple of classes with you, and it seems like you have a very athletic theme throughout your life, between football, all that goes into being a firefighter, taking it as far as you've taken it in jiu-jitsu, and now you're on the recovery end of things. Kicking things off, did it just make sense for you to move into, IV therapy, or, what was kind of as opposed to like what a lot of us do, we go open gyms and shit. How did IV drip come into your universe?
My whole life has been so funny, man. It's just these different things fall into my lap from the universe and just meant to be. And my bachelor's is in kinesiology, so I was always passionate like you about fitness. I actually was always really interested in like your CSCS cert. I think is an incredible accomplishment, and that's something that I had considered. I got accepted to the University of Texas many years ago to do athletic training, and when I really looked into it, I felt like it would be hard to provide for myself and a family. It's lots of hours away from your family, and the compensation, unless you get into the pros and stuff, it's tough. So, and I had friends and stuff that had done it and told me, man, you're gone so many hours, right? Taking care of the athletes. So, I had always wanted to be a fireman though. And I ended up doing that. And it was, an amazing experience for me. And while I was doing my career as a fireman, I had met a doctor that was the first guy to really kick off vitamin IV therapy in the Scottsdale area that wasn't a naturopathic doctor. So he and I were going to gear towards more of what I'm doing now, your everyday community. A lot of people don't have medical benefits, and it's expensive for them to go do treatments, whether it be for recovery or just minor stuff, a cold or stomach flu. And so IV therapy has been really beneficial for people like that in particular. And so he and I were out kind of grassroots talking to people. Hey, have you ever done vitamin IV therapy for a hangover? And they're like, what? I didn't know you could do that. So we got a lot of following from that. And because of my extensive background in the fire service, under pressure situations, I had learned how to be really good at giving IVs under critical situations. I mean, people that if we didn't get the IV, it was, life and death for them. So now this for me is casual and fun, but I take a lot of IV skills. And when I worked for that doctor, I developed a large following of people that were loyal to me. And I decided in 2020, when everything was crazy, it was time to do something new with my life. And that's what I did.
That's awesome, man. The entrepreneur route is definitely the road less traveled. And, one of the things that I have really, really just become hyper in tune with is it doesn't matter if you're, online, brick and mortar, doing IV, personal training, selling salt lamps. We're in the business of people, and we were talking very briefly offline before we kicked off the show, about just the people equation, and how have you gone about finding and retaining great people, because Zack doesn't scale, Michael doesn't scale, right? So how have you gone about putting together a culture and a group of people that are just all the way behind Recovery Room?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I learned so much in the fire service about going above and beyond for customers, because usually when we would see people, it was on one of the worst days of their life, right? So you had to have a lot of compassion and empathy for them, and you had to be professional. And if the one thing I could say to someone that wants to be an entrepreneur or own a business, I can honestly tell you I had zero skill, ability, or understanding of how to open a business. And I literally went about it like learning as I went. But one thing that can offset that and make you successful is if you have a culture about caring about people and go above and beyond for them to make them happy, it can offset your lack of ability as an entrepreneur, whether you have a business degree or whatever. So I think that the employees that I hired, what I had learned in the fire service, when we would interview candidates, we're going to teach you in the academy how to fight fires. We're going to even teach you how to medically treat people. What we need to understand is, can we live with you for 24 hours? We're going to be in a station with you for 24 hours. We're going to see you with all your moods, lack of sleep. You're fighting with your wife, your boyfriend, whatever's going on at your house. Your kids are driving you crazy. You have a rebellious teenager. So can we be around this person for 24 hours? And that's how we would gauge when we would hire. Another company that really stands out to me that I try to learn from is Dutch Brothers. You go to any Dutch Brothers in the country, you're going to get a really perky, energetic, happy teenager or young person with this just crazy personality and make you feel welcome. And the product always is the same. And to me, I'm like, man, how do you expand a huge business and maintain that, your core values? So for me, I pick people that, number one, are kind, giving people and care about others and care about health. Number two, um, it's really important to me that we have good IV skills, because I understand that people are paying us their hard-earned money and we're
Mm-hmm.
in tough economic times. So I want the experience to be positive for them. And when we go on our mobiles and stuff, we're strangers having us in their home, and we're sitting with them for like 30 minutes. You really have to be able to talk to them, have a good personality. So those are some of the things that I really evaluate when I pick a team. And I have a core team that's been with me since we opened, and I'm really blessed. I love them. They're like, I mean, I'm with them all the time, so they become some of my best friends too, which is great. So we have like more of a family atmosphere.
Yeah. Have you done the exploration of like what are the commonalities between football, firefighting, and jujitsu that you bring into recovery?
Yeah, I think, you know what, when we've all had jobs where we were a number and you weren't appreciated, no one, you have a boss that's never even met you, or and you've been at the company for 5 years or whatever. Um, I just believe fire, football, sports, jujitsu, my business. The more you have a family atmosphere, you care about each individual's life. You celebrate their wins and their stuff outside of work too. Whether one of my nurses is having a baby, so excited for her. I'm a dad. I love being a father. So watching her now, she's going to be a mom. Those types of things bring us closer together. And because of that, I have nurses and I have a doctor too, a naturopath, that they care about me. They care about my brand. They care about how we represent the community. And that's a whole different aspect now. When you have people that it's personal for them too, it makes your business successful.
Mm-hmm. The um
To add to that, like when I was a fireman, I'm a part of a family. If I go out and I get a DUI and it says in the headlines, Phoenix fireman gets a DUI, every single person that wears a Phoenix fire shirt is now tainted. They now
mhm.
get station. We all have the same shirt on, right? So I've always, that's stuck out to me, that it's really important how you represent, you know, who you represent. So
Mhm.
those are always things that I took with me from my back.
Yeah, because it's the same in the Marines. Like
Yeah.
if you go out and you get busted doing some illegal dumb shit, it's not Michael Anders gets a DUI. It's Yuma Marine gets a DUI. And now everybody has to wear that scarlet letter. You know what I mean? For a little while until society forgets about it or until it's made right. And I think that's one of the things that's really important in what we do as entrepreneurs and developing a brand, something, and that brand being something that is bigger than us, that the team can rally behind. Like on the sign on your building is not Zack Stewart's recovery room.
Nope.
It's not Michael Anders' gym. No, like that the individual is hard to get behind, I think. But having that brand, something that transcends you, something that is bigger than you, the Phoenix Fire Department, the United States Marine Corps of your business that everybody can rally behind. And then when they go out in the world off the clock or whatever, in the back of their head is like, oh shit, like if I fuck up, it's not just me who looks bad, that looks bad. That's a stain on everybody that I'm connected with, and at the same time, it all makes you think twice about things, because it's not just you that your behavior impacts. It's your clients. It's, somebody's got to pick up the slack, at the facility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that you're where your mind's at and what you're building is so on point, because now you have this implicit, unspoken layer of accountability that keeps your people top notch.
Yeah, there are going to be times too. It's been a challenge for me as a business owner because I built this kind of by myself. So you have core clients that are like, well, I just want you to come out. And that's beautiful. And it means a lot to me, but I need them to love my staff too, because as you get moving on in your business, I have to start thinking about how can I bring in more customers? How can I get our name out there more? And how do I start taking over ownership responsibilities? I have a staff to do the IVs and to take care of the clients. So, I want them to have that connection with them as well. And that's one of the biggest challenges for sure in ownership,
Yeah.
But I still love being an involved owner because I do love getting out and meeting my clients, because some places that I have worked in the past, the owner was never present. And I remember it bothering a lot of clients. They'd be like, well, where's the owner at? And I'd be like, oh, not here or whatever. And it would bother them because they just want to put a face to an ownership,
Yeah.
So I always resonated with me a lot too with certain businesses. I realized that the owner that was really involved, a lot of people enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, we're in a really interesting place with Next Level where, the machine is moving in such a way, and I'm super proud of this, and I'm really excited for you to get to this place too, where you can be that involved owner, but nobody knows that you're the owner.
Yeah,
we've had people at HQ for months now, and they're just recently discovering, like, oh shit, like the dude in the 615 class with us, or the guy that coaches it on Wednesday evenings. Oh fuck, that's not just another coach. That's the guy. That's the owner. Right. You know what I mean? And like, that's a really cool place to be, because the forest for the trees of it all is that my team has taken ownership of the process and the caretaking of the brand and our people. And, just in our team meeting this past week, I told them, like, hey, understand this, like, I work for you, and it's part of my personal mission statement to make sure that you guys are taken care of, because if that's accomplished, then I know our clients and members are going to get taken care of.
Do you have a process in your business as far as when you're selecting people that come coach and work for you? Do you have a process that you utilize?
Yeah, 100%. So we have a coaching development program. It's 80 hours, and it doesn't matter what your experience, what your credentials are, you have to go through it. And there's no promise of employment with Next Level upon completion, because once we get you through the 80 hours, you pass your 5 check ride classes, then the team goes in the back, and it's like Survivor, man. You either get voted to stay, you get voted to stay, or you get voted to go. It's because when you're talking about, to your point, can we live with you for 24 hours? It's like, does this person pass the people test? Do they match our culture? Do we want to coach with them? Right. And if the answer is no, well, then the promise is you're going to go out in the world, you're going to go find a home somewhere else at another gym or whatever, and be a better trainer, coach for having gone through this process. So the only promise is that you're going to be better. It's then it becomes a matter of whether you make the team or not thereafter.
A lot of people in your industry are requiring your energy to motivate them. So if you're off, obviously their workouts shot, their days shot. A lot of people in your field need motivation. A lot of them don't really be there. They're kind of forcing themselves there, and they rely on you for that. So I can see how you guys, I think it's really cool. And you don't hear about a lot of gyms having a difficult vetting process. So I think that's pretty cool that you guys do that.
Thank you, man. I came up in martial arts, I had teams in high school and in college that would cut people, you know what I mean? So like I'm and not everybody gets the opportunity to be an officer of Marines, and they let you know from the fucking beginning, we don't want you. We don't want you. We don't need you. The big green machine will keep on churning with or without you. And I don't think that our culture is that extreme by any means, but at the same time, it's like, if you want a quality product, man, you got to make sure that you have quality people, and it's hard. It's challenging. And the hiring process is slow by design, but you read, Kiyosaki's books, one of the things that he talks about is hiring slow and firing fast, so it's a quality control mechanism for us, for sure.
It is. And it's a tough world now finding that quality, because I thrived in an environment where I had a captain that was literally up my ass screaming at me, like, get this shit done. Right. So as an athlete, and my dad was in Vietnam, and he fought in Vietnam. So my dad was military also. So I just have always responded to structure. Not everyone responds to that, but that gave me self-drive and discipline to be highly motivated. And I also learned as I went along that if someone is wired like you are, they're not going to work for you. They're going to have their own business. So you have to realize that you're going to have employees that each one of them has a part of you, and a few of them will make a you, right? You can't expect somebody to be a you, or they'll go have their own successful business.
Yeah, 100%.
Most likely, unless they don't want to deal with the excessive hours and all that stuff that you got to, which is possible.
I'm transparent with the team, man, because I know that the people that we have on the team are very self-driven, motivated. I think that's a commonality amongst everybody on our team. And at the same time, I'm like, look, if you want to go start your own place, like, I 100% support that. I really do. And I also want you to understand that you got to make sure you want the headaches that come with that. Going back to the people thing, like, finding the right people is hard. It's a pain in the ass, and it takes a while. to really create an efficient enough filter that you can bring them in, keep them, and also continue to build that roster. Because as the business evolves, right, there, and people's lives evolve, they're going to want to go start families. They're going to want to go back to school. They're going to want to go, they're going to want to go do all these things. And, their role at your company may or may not fit in that next phase. So, keeping all that in mind, you got to have multiple poles in the water, not only for like client acquisition, but also for, talented folks that believe in your mission as well.
All the time. I couldn't agree with that more. And I would further add to that point that we are in a time where people aren't into commitment. They just don't want to commit something long term.
What do you think that's about, man?
I think that's lack of accountability.
Mm-hmm. From where, because it's not like there's any shortage of kids playing sports now, or what is it about? Where is the accountability missing?
I mean, having strong parents is good. My parents wouldn't let me quit stuff. Like if I was like, I don't like this, they'd be like, no, you're going to do it for 6 months. And then if you don't like it, we'll go from there. But just the first time that it was a tough practice, or it was hot out, we had to run gas, or it was like, oh, I want to quit. No, that ain't happening. This is a major challenge moving forward in our nursing, fire, EMS, teaching future of our country. You have tons of problems with hiring because younger people, it's expensive out here. I'm not faulting them at all. I think they watched like my parents' generation, and I would be at the tail end of it. I was born in 78. So I grew up thinking like stable job with a pension, benefits. I'm going to buy a house, have a pretty wife, have beautiful children, and just ride off into the sunset. And then I'm going to retire with a fifth wheel, travel with my wife, whatever, that kind of thing. And then they watched their parents go through that and watch the reality where mom and dad aren't doing so good. They get into a nasty divorce. The whole dream was kind of a facade. So then their attitude is, nah, I'm going to live for the day, meaning I'm going to travel on a whim. I'm going to move. If I want to move next week to New York, I'm going to move to New York. Mm-hmm. How that makes it challenging for a job like a pension-based job where you commit 30 years of your life to that, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, where we're at, and it's been a tremendous challenge. I'm watching the numbers. I had heard the other day some local fire departments were holding a testing. So when I tested, it was in a grant year. It was really odd. They hadn't hired in a long time, and they had 18,000 applicants, and they hired 12 of us. Then they worked off that list for a few more years. Now, the other day, there was a testing and only 1,200 people showed up.
So and literally 10%.
Double the jobs. I think there was like 50 or 60 vacancies. Crazy. That's crazy. Fireman was one of the most desired. When you were an ex-athlete, it was like, man, I'm going to be a fireman, hang out with the boys, whatever. We're going to go fight fires and do all this cool stuff. And it just doesn't seem to appeal as much to certain people anymore. So I don't know.
Do you think that there's also kind of I don't want to make it generational, because I think that it transcends, Gen Z or whatever the fuck we're in now. No. I think that there's boomers that have the same kind of instant gratification expectations as well. Sure. We're in the age now where I think one of the great lies being told is that, internet money is as fast as the fucking lottery, what people fail to realize, in my personal and professional opinion, is that you're going to have to put those hours in somehow, some way, somewhere, so like, how do you, uh, there needs to be a more realistic expectation as to how you go about creating income and a lifestyle that you desire, because it's not, you're going to go. I remember being told this when I opened the gym, you don't just turn on the lights, unlock the door, and people come flooding to your stuff. Like, it takes a lot of work and a good chunk of time to create that reputation in the community as like the go-to place to meet a need, regardless of whatever, depending on who your customer is. But that takes a while, and that takes some time.
Yeah, it does. I couldn't agree more. I've always lived my life just thinking that I grew up in a blue collar family, so I've just always felt like nothing was going to be given to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, and I've never lived my life thinking I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. Some would say, well, that's your problem. That's you need to have that mindset. And I would say, no. I just believe it takes time to build quality, and nothing comes overnight. How many times did you know an athlete that was a freak athlete and you're like, this guy's going to NFL, this guy's going to the NBA, but what they lacked, no one's perfect. What those guys would lack is attitude problems, and they would lack
Mm-hmm.
work because they're like, I'm gifted, I don't need to work hard. Then you have a guy like Rudy,
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame there, who wanted it worse than anyone. He had a bigger heart than anyone, and he had no athletic ability, right? So, you know, that's the thing. There's like a balance.
Yeah, everybody has their challenges. I remember playing with dudes that, we'd be in the off season. I was an effort guy. I had, if it took 10,000 hours to master something, it took me 10,001,
Yes.
and I remember being in the off season with cats at every level. They were like, man, I don't know why the fuck I'm in here. I just want to play ball. And like,
Yeah.
you get them on the field and they are studs,
Yep.
but there's something to be said. When I got to college, it was extremely obvious that the league was not within reach for me. And I accepted that really, really quick.
Yeah.
And still, what I realized when we got to college, there were a lot of dudes at that level that were experiencing the challenges of earning their spot for the very first time, because they were so talented wherever they came from. Like, they were just bigger, faster, stronger, had um, a higher football IQ for, from time spent on the sticks. I don't know. Than, everybody they were playing with in high school. And then we get to the next level and there's like, oh shit, there's 85 dudes that are just as good or better than I am. And
Yep.
like, that's such a slap in the face for a lot of guys. And that ego is like, a lot of them don't know how to try, right? Because they've never had to.
And that's
That's
why
that.
like a Kobe Bryant or any athlete like that you hear these stories. They were in the gym 3 hours after a game, or I believe in people like that. I just think that that's the way to go about life. You have to put in the effort, you know?
When you played at Hawaii, where were you out on that spectrum? There's like the guys that were just like happy to be there, and they're gonna earn their spot. And then you had the were you with Jimmy Chang?
Timmy, yeah.
Timmy Chang, yeah.
Thing was for me was I had a funny journey. Growing up in Hawaii, there are boys when I was 12 years old that were 265 pounds. Think about that. So Tiago, who you know well, is one of my
Mhm.
very dear friends, and he's been an inspiration of my life. He's my professor in jiu-jitsu, and I'm a black belt under him. Tiago's son is 12 years old, and the kid is 260 pounds, and he's a freaking menace. And
Mhm.
I grew up with a lot of kids like that. And then here I am at the same age, 12, and I'm like 140. Right. And I'm like, okay. And then when I played Pop Warner, it went like Bantams. So Bantams, you still had to make a weight, right? And then when you
Mm-hmm.
went to mid, it was like 165 or something to infinity. So you're like 165 to 350 pounds, like, and you're just out there getting blown up. And I actually put some size on, was playing like D end, and then all of a sudden I started getting into wrestling and all the cardio, and then I started growing height wise, and I got really slender. And then they were like, "You got to play receiver," and so it literally fell in my lap again. Like I said, my life, that's just how it's been. I didn't ever think I was going to be a receiver, and then just the way I grew freshman year, all the wrestling and cardio I was doing, I couldn't put any weight on, and I was like a very lean 170. And then as I got older and was introduced to weights around 16, 17, it wasn't the same as it is now, where you have these young kids that are lifting very early. We were really introduced to it. We did a lot of body workout and calisthenics, but we didn't really hit the weights till about 16, 17. And then it was all functional lifting, like deadlifts and cleans and all that stuff. And then I started to put some size on, and then I was like a good healthy 195, just under 6'1". So
Mm-hmm.
that's happened. And for me, like you, I just knew, like, yeah, that wasn't as much as I would have loved to have been a pro athlete, a football player. That probably wasn't going to happen. I do
Mm-hmm.
think I have a future in the UFC, but when it first had come out, it was so foreign to everyone, and it had this bad rep. Like, it's just a bunch of street fighters just mauling each other, and we're kind of figuring out, like, what is this stuff? And at that point, I ended up, starting a family and being a fireman, and that's the way it went. So
Yeah. So I want to dive into the infancy of the UFC, since you were, around for all that and in the jiu-jitsu game. I feel like, my brother fights in the UFC,
yeah,
and I feel like jiu-jitsu and the UFC go hand in hand now. It's not you have, like, of all the things, striking, kicking, Muay Thai, whatever, of all the things you have in your tool belt, like, the foundation seems to be jujitsu. Is that fact or myth?
I'm always going to be biased to jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's my heart. I have so much respect for all of martial arts. It's just, man, any of your kids doing any of them, it's wonderful. But I watch a ton of UFC. I know your brother. I love your brother too. I roll with him sometimes. And man, I've watched fights where a guy's just getting teed off on, and he's surviving punches, and he gets his hands on a dude, and he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and he ends the whole fight, because human beings are not comfortable or natural on the ground. You put your back against a solid surface where you can't move, and people panic. So the biggest thing with jiu-jitsu, man, is like controlling your emotions and your panic. And how does that not benefit you in life? We get in
Mm-hmm.
so many panic situations in life. Oh my gosh, the phone bill's due, and my daughter, she's doing this, and my girlfriend, whatever. And so learning to control your emotions and control your anxiety and all of that stuff, jiu-jitsu is so fundamental for that. And it's been the most amazing thing for me, having my daughter from 3 years old, and she's 10 now, and literally trains 5 days a week. It's been the most amazing thing for me to watch in her behavior, her respect for others, how she treats people, her ability to handle herself. I just could go on and on about how amazing jiu-jitsu is, and
How,
I love it.
how did you find jujitsu, and what was that transition like? Because what I find interesting about jujitsu is you guys love being on your back.
Mhm.
Wrestlers, that's a death sentence, right? And
Yeah.
you talk about fighting, fighting through your emotions and all that kind of good stuff, and living through the panic. Like, how do you make that transition from wrestling to jujitsu, where like, being on your back is the worst thing on the planet in one, and it's something that is extremely comfortable in the other?
Man, the hardest lesson for me to learn in my early jiu-jitsu days, I was with Tiago and a legend, Tanquinho Mendez. He was in the corner the other day with Sean O'Malley. He is Sean O'Malley's jiu-jitsu coach. Tanquinho gave me my blue belt, my purple belt. He's a legend. And he would always tell me, Zach, you're always defaulting to football and wrestling. You're trying to use strength and explosiveness, and you have to learn to know when to use that at the right time. He said you want to have those abilities, but you need to know when to turn those on. And so during my white belt, kind of blue belt years, harnessing in that like panicky, stuff took a while. And now I try to share that with people early on in their jiu-jitsu journey when they come in for our beginner classes. When I teach those in the evenings, the white belts, we have some strong athletic dudes that come in, some that are built like you, and it's just like, hey man, let's get your technique, your leverage, and once you have that, and then you add your strength, you're going to be insane. You're going to be a nightmare to deal with. So that was my journey, and I did a lot of judo too. So throwing and hip throws and all of that stuff, it all really correlates hand in hand.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But it wasn't easy. Yeah. I'm not going to sit and say I'm a pressure player and a top player as far as like I still utilize a lot of my wrestling background, but I had to learn to try and control my overusing my strength at the wrong times, because when you're in a full jiu-jitsu battle with someone and you're both athletic and you have great cardio and you burn that fuel tank, your brother can tell us about that better than anyone. You burn that fuel tank too early, you're going to get it up. So,
yeah. What was the, cause you competed, right? In jiu-jitsu, like done worlds and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What was your toughest experience in competition?
I'm embarrassed to say this. One time I was a blue belt, and I had a big tournament coming up, and I was light heavyweight. And the night before, like an idiot, I was still young, I went on a date, and the date turned into a fun, long evening. And I had too much to drink. And I wake up late, and I show up to the tournament, and I have a super pissed off Brazilian coach that's yelling at me, you're on in like 2 minutes. What the hell are you doing? And, anyone that knows a Brazilian, you don't want to piss them off, right? So I am massively dehydrated, headache, whatever. And I go out and I clean through everyone. I have no idea how I won the whole thing. I was still drunk. But that, if anyone knows me, they would say that's a Zach story. That's me. That's how I operate in misery sometimes. I remember just feeling like absolute trash. But at the same time, in retrospect, I was like, I think the alcohol kind of calmed my nerves, because I got there and I'm like, shit, I have 6 guys I got to fight today. Are you kidding me? And one of them was like a ripped up black dude. And I'm like thinking, this ain't going to go well. And went really well. And I just remember when I was sitting on the wall, like, what did I just do? That was a life accomplishment. But I would never advise anyone to do that.
Oh man, I've run many a physical fitness test in the Marine Corps still hungover. I feel that. I've not fought 6 dudes with a hangover though.
The guy that I look up to a lot, Hodger Gracie, he's one of my favorites. And, he talks about, he does not literally even acknowledge his mother when he's walking out to fight. He doesn't even see his mom. He's just literally clearing his mind of everything. And to add that to my point, there has been tournaments where I've been hydrated, dialed in, my weight's good. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna tear it up today. And you don't do as well as you were hoping. You're like, man, I was ready to go on all aspects. But at the same time, because you were so dialed in and focused, you're creating anxiety, you're overthinking stuff. Man, I was just buzzed and like, let's do this. Let's, Roadhouse, let's go out and figure it out. And I mean, that's more my style. I don't like to sit and overthink and analyze things, because that will get the worst out of me if I just go for it
Yeah.
and don't analyze. That'll give me the best results, because I do have an analytical mind, and it's been a negative for me. In the fire service, they used to teach us that a lot, man. They'd be like, man, if you overanalyze stuff, it's going to get your ass killed. You have to critically think, be decisive, and, get it done.
Just what I'm hearing you say in both those examples, what's showing up for me is just letting your training take over.
Yes, you have to. They would say you need to train, and jiu-jitsu too, where it literally becomes second nature to you. If it's not second nature and you're overthinking and overanalyzing, you have not trained enough. It's just simple black and white like that. And jiu-jitsu, they would always pound into me all the time. It gets harder now that I'm 45. My body's sore and stuff. I have to try to balance. I still am training 4 days a week, and it can be hard, with the soreness and everything. I'm not recovering the same as I used to. But Taquino and Tiago would always tell me, you're really not going to get to the level you want to get to training 2 or 3 days a week. You got to be in at least 4. And now that I'm watching Tiago raise his son is a menace. He has him training morning. He has him training wrestling in the afternoon, and then he'll have him do night classes, and he'll send him to judo sometimes after those night classes. So, I mean, and I believe to be a highly decorated world champion, that is what you have to do. Tiago,
But even
all the time when he was a high level judo competitor and everything, wake up, breakfast, practice, go to school, practice afternoon, night classes, judo, whatever, training 3 times a day.
But you see that too. I'm super curious now, because you see that in young athletes. They're thriving in high volume, consistent training scenarios, which is totally cool, because the body at between 18 and call it 30 on the high end can handle that. And then you
Sure.
talk to seasoned veterans. The one that sticks out to me is James Harrison and Jerome Bettis for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah.
Harrison's he's a free. I still watch videos of him. I'm like, how is this guy putting weight up like that?
As they get on in their careers, they're training less and prioritizing recovery more to play at that same level. Do you feel like there's a place in jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts where that's also true, where you're just not going to be running and gunning 7 days a week like you used to, because you're to a previous point, letting your training take over, and you're spending more time on skill refinement as opposed to skill acquisition through volume?
I battle with certain things in my mind, because it's really important to me that I represent my team and my professor in a positive way. And sometimes I feel like, oh, I need to train every day, and when in all reality, that's just not going to be feasible. And I want to be able to continue to practice jiu-jitsu for a long time, and I want it to be in my life. As I get older, yeah, I may have to transition to where I'm primarily teaching, but I still get out there and roll. But I feel like if I was doing 6 days a week, I wouldn't be able to move very much. It's hard. From all the football, and now it's been, consistently over 10 years of consistently training at least 4 days a week. And that's not my weight training. That's my jiu-jitsu. It takes a toll on your body. I mean, I had to change to carnivore diet to where I was really looking to reduce inflammation. That's helped a ton with waking up and not feeling as sore. And you really just have to find a way to balance the overtraining at that age.
Yeah. So to that end, tell me about IV, man. I'm so genuinely curious in the methodology of it all, not necessarily the chemical cocktails. I think that's a whole nother like educational conversation, but like the purpose, the implementation, like how does IV therapy work?
Well, you have so many different things going on, and we really have more of a holistic mindset where we believe in the body's ability to want to work for you if given the proper tools to assist it, whether it be your nutrition, whether it be through vitamin supplementation. And so these are some of the things that we address. Number one, you cannot argue the benefit of hydration. And now all these studies are coming out, and it's a new trend with the importance of salt in your diet. They used to shame salt. Salt is so bad. And now doctors are coming out saying, wrong. You need to be doing some salt water prior to working it out. It helps with blood volume. It helps with your vascularity in your pump. When you're done, your body is literally an ocean. It's salt water. And so when you're sweating, you're crying, anything, you're losing salt water, you're losing minerals, and it affects your contraction of your muscles. It affects your heart. You need a couple things with cardiac contraction. You need sodium, you need calcium to help with cardiac contraction, and potassium is another thing that helps with that. So just the IV bag alone comes with the minerals and the electrolytes that you need for proper hydration. Then we start adding vitamins. B complex is a vitamin that is essential for so many functions in your body, just basic B complex. So that's a base that we like to use a lot in our vitamin therapy. Then you have antioxidants. When your cells start taking oxidative stress, it starts manifesting into worse things like cancer and autoimmune diseases. So something like a glutathione, which is a master antioxidant for your body. Amazing thing to supplement with. It's amazing for skin and skin tone, for liver repair. Obviously, high dose vitamin C for collagen production, for your immune system function, for hair, skin, and nails. So these are all things that we're giving to your body for your body to take and then utilize and make it run better.
And then in terms of, let's say you're the recreational athlete, or who we serve at Next Level, the executive athlete, right? You have what I would describe as a high priority lifestyle, in that you're moving an organization forward. You have a family to support and a team to drive that mission with you, right? And you prioritize your health and your training and your nutrition. How often would somebody like that utilize Recovery Room?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in I don't like overselling and pushing things on people for my benefit. I feel that a couple times a month is amazing for someone. We're loading you up with vitamins and hydration and helping you in your recovery process. Now, if you're a pro athlete, or you're like Tiago's son, who, we sponsor him, and he's training 3 days a week, that person can get IVs a couple times a week. I would highly recommend that. You're losing so much fluid. It's really hard to drink that all the time. So it does not hurt getting that extra hydration. And the excessive amount of use your muscles and body is going through. I mean, we have amino acids now for IV vitamin therapy. We have glutamine, all these things that can help with muscular recovery and repair. That type of person could be a candidate for a couple times a week. But when you're your average person, you're working out, doing stuff a couple times a month, I think is more than necessary. That works.
And then, you just rattled off so many nutrients and aminos and all those things. If there was just a bare minimum, whether it's IV or not, from a supplementation standpoint, what do we need to get from an exogenous source that we're just not giving ourselves in our general nutrition every day?
I love that question. And if you guys ever want to know outside of here, on our Instagram, on our link tree, I have my full scripts, my whole scripts. I have my personal recommendations of supplements if you ever want to go check that out. I personally feel what you need: B complex. I feel that you need magnesium. I feel that you need zinc. Men, especially for testosterone, You need at least 30 to 50 milligrams a day of that. I think you need boron or your trace minerals, collagen, grass-fed whey protein would be another one. I personally am a huge believer in liver supplements. Liver is high in iron. It's high in choline for cholesterol. It's high in B12. It's essential for male function, sexual hormones. So liver supplements, I am a huge proponent of. Dr. Saladino and Heart and Soil supplements. I'm a big fan of his stuff, and it's high quality supplements that I believe in. Magnesium helps with muscle relaxation and with helping with sleep. And then last, my secret weapon, bone broth. So Florence Nightingale, the GOAT nurse, I believe Hippocrates, the Greek doctor, was it Hippocrates or yeah,
the Hippocratic Oath, Hippocrates. Yep.
It was called beef tea, they used to call it, but what they were referring to was bone broth. And bone broth is one of the most therapeutic things that you can take for your gut lining. It is high in glycine, which is an amino acid which helps with relaxation. So having a cup of that at night prior to bed is a huge thing to have in your regimen that I highly.
Right on, man. Right on. So where can our audience go find you guys, man?
So you can follow us on our IG that you have scrolling down here at Recovery Room Arizona. Our website is www.recoveryroomaz.com. And the phone number, our office number is 480-687-8091. We have an amazing location right in the heart of Oldtown Scottsdale. We're on the corner, kitty corner from Fox Cigar Lounge, next door to Boondocks. Those are two locations. A lot of people know where those are located. So that's the corner of 75th Street and 6th Avenue.
Right on, man. I'm so pumped to have had this conversation with you. I'm so excited for our members at HQ to take advantage of the services that you provide and creating this alliance between Recovery Room AZ and Next Level. Thank you, brother, so much for dropping such useful knowledge, high value conversation. I'm grateful for you, brother.
I'm grateful for you too, man. I love having you guys around and in our lives, and look forward to more stuff in the future. So
yeah, man, we're going to make it happen. For everybody out there in the Next Level audience, remember, progress always. Check out nextlevelpfc.com for more, and support Zack and Recovery Room Arizona and everything that he has going on. He's here to help and serve. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.